Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the highlight of human civilization. If you don't count my humming, that really doesn't help at all. But if you like your experience, already quite amazing, I think you'd agree, to go up to levels that people can't even explain. There are no words to explain them. All you need to do that is to grab a cup or a mug or a glass, a tankard, chalice or stein, a canteen, jug or flask, a vessel of any kind. Fill it with your favorite liquid. I like coffee. Join me now for the unparalleled pleasure, the dopamine hit of the day, the thing that makes everything better. It's called the simultaneous sip. It happens now. Go. It's so good. Yeah, it's so good. Well, let's talk about the biggest tragedy. And I feel that this is the problem that is not just in the news, but this has actually come into your home. I mean, unless it was just me, but I stayed up all night crying because we have now selected a new Speaker of the House. Poor Jim Jordan, he's lost 3 votes so far. Doesn't look like it's getting closer. And so every day that we survive without a Speaker of the House, I feel we're that much closer to doom. And, the evidence is everywhere. I mean, just look around. Because there's no Speaker of the House, the problems are, okay, there are no problems, but theoretically there could be, and I think we should worry about that. The theoretical problems that we can't even imagine. Now, am I wrong, or do we need one rule that would fix everything? You want to hear one law that would fix Congress? No, not term limits. That might help. But here's one that would actually be possible. If they don't come up with a budget, by the time they're supposed to come up with a budget, all the budgets are cut evenly by, let's say, 5%. And that's it. There's no continuing fucking resolutions. Well, why would you do a continuation of something that wasn't working and would lead you to doom? Now, I don't know if it's 5% or 15%, what the right number is, but there is a right number. There is a number that if you can't get it done, it just gets cut 5%. And I don't think they would ever get it done. They would argue forever, but we could maybe cut this budget, but that money should go over to this other place. You know what you could do? You could just get over it. You could just work with what you have. You could do that like everybody else does. You work with what you have. You don't just get more. So every day that we don't have a speaker makes me happy. And I don't feel good about that. Because, like I say, I'm watching Thomas Massey trying to, get a speaker. He seems to think it's important. But I don't know if it is. The longer we go without one, maybe it's telling us something that we should have listened to. Maybe we're learning something from this that's actually important. So let's see what happens. Well, in surprising news, but maybe not so surprising, RFK Jr. Has come out in favor of reparations. Reparations. Now, here's what's interesting about that. That takes him down to 0 Republican votes, doesn't it? Remember all those people who said, hey, he's going to take votes away from Trump? Really? You think anybody who is in favor of reparations will get 1 vote, even 1, from a Republican? No. You will not get 1 vote. I mean, if I have anything to do about it, because now it's, now it's serious. There were a number of RFK Jr. policies that I didn't like, but I thought to myself, but if he got president, at least he has good character and I feel like he'd tell the truth, likes his country, right? So I thought, maybe I could live with not having exactly all the policies that I think are the good ones. But no, reparations is that's just a hard no. There's no negotiating. There's no wiggle room. That's just a no times 1,000. No, no, no. You are not going to be the president. So that pretty much guarantees Trump will get elected, but it also, I think, guarantees that you can stop saying, hey, maybe RFK Jr. should be his attorney general. Nope, that's not happening now. So he is now just a spoiler for the Democrats, which will be kind of interesting to watch. Well, I think the biggest story, and you would agree, if you saw the recent video of President Biden, I call him POTUS because, I'm an insider. You could call him President Biden, but I call him POTUS. Well, POTUS, I don't know if the video was weird or the lighting angle, but everybody else who saw the video saw the same thing I did, which is there was something different about his chin, the, the POTUS chin. Yeah. It looked like instead of his regular chin, which is not, his regular chin would not be too different from mine, the way we've always seen before. Kind of just a normal little chin. But for some reason, the last time we saw it, it had this big cleave, like boob cleavage in the middle, so that the two sides of the chin were hanging down like balls. So his chin became like chin balls. Now, it didn't look like there was any surgery or anything, but he has chin balls. And it was a big mystery. It's like, why does he have balls on his chin? Now, if I were going to look into this, the first place I would check his balls to see if it looks like a chin. Because it could be one of these switcheroo things. That happens, right? You wake up one day and you're like, oh God, oh no, oh no. Ah! Sort of that situation. But in the short run, until we figure out medically what's going on, why his chins became balls, I think we should temporarily stop calling him POTUS. Not POTUS anymore. No, Scrotus. Scrotus. I think he should just be Scrotus until we figure this out. Well, Mark Dice, conservative guy, did a street thing where he was asking Democrats on the street. I'm not sure where it was. Was it in the Northwest somewhere? Some Democrat enclave. But he was asking Democrats, just ordinary Democrats, ones that look like, they're barbecuing moms and dads and PTA, just ordinary looking ones. So I'm not talking about green haired people, right? No, nobody who's, obviously Antifa, nothing like that. I'm talking about your most ordinary, chubby Americans walking down the sidewalk. And Mark Dice stops him and he says that he's asking them to sign a petition to jail all Trump supporters who say 2020 election was stolen. Jail them. Now he says jail them very clearly. Now, not for free speech, but jail them if they said the 2020 election was stolen. Do you know how many people he got to sign that petition? To jail Trump supporters for free speech. Well, I didn't see a percentage. So, I don't know what percentage they would, but there were a number of ordinary people who signed it enthusiastically. Enthusiastically, they signed it. They were really happy about it. Now, do you ever ask yourself, how did the citizens of Germany ever go along with Hitler? Like, how in the world did you convince ordinary people to support a Hitler-like regime? And the answer is right here. The answer is right here. It turns out it's moronically easy to convince otherwise good people to be monsters. You just have to demonize the other side until it doesn't seem like it's monstrous. Now, if I said to you, "Hey, step on that bug," assuming you didn't love bugs, you might just step on it, or you wouldn't even think twice. You'd swat a fly. You know why you would swat a fly without thinking twice? It's just a freaking fly. What's it going to do? Go crawl around on crap for a while? I mean, you don't care about a fly. But that apparently that's what the news has done to Trump supporters who would doubt the election. Anyway, it's dehumanized them to the point where taking their freedom away doesn't even seem like a big move. It's like, oh yeah, give me that petition, I'll sign it. That was pure evil. When you're watching these ordinary citizens, just probably good people 99.9% of the time. But because of that little corruption of their minds, that little brainwashing thing that's been going on for several years in the United States, they actually believed that jailing people who would look and talk exactly like them, somebody who could attend their barbecue and would be perfectly acceptable about, except for this one opinion, that they thought maybe the election wasn't secure. And they would go to fucking jail, according to the guy barbecuing. Now, does that blow your mind? It's mind blowing, but if you think it's surprising, you haven't been paying attention. Do you remember when I told you that Republicans would be hunted? And you said, well, that's crazy. Come on. They're not going to be hunted. These are people signing a petition to put them in jail. That's pretty hunted. That's pretty hunted. I mean, you could argue about the technical definition of the word hunted, but that's not really a real argument in this case. That's just avoiding the conversation. So that's scary. But don't worry about your free speech, because let's see if there are any other examples where it would be threatened. Oh, yeah. A pro-Trump meme maker got 7 months in jail for a joke. That's a real thing that happened. Now, of course, how did they put him in jail for a joke? Well, it's the government. All they have to do is say, it wasn't a joke. That's it. The government just had to say, we don't get the joke, and they can put him in jail. Now, let's see, it wasn't a joke. So what he did was he had some meme that other people copied. I think the fact that other people copied it and boosted it probably made it much worse for him. But his meme said, you don't need to vote if you're Hillary supporter. Which election was it? Was it Biden or Hillary? I forget. But he said you don't have to vote. You can just text in your vote. So it was way back in the Hillary days, right? You just text your vote. Now, of course, that's not a real thing. So if people tried to text their votes instead of going to vote, you might have erased their votes. But I can't imagine anybody used that number because it was a fake number. Do you think anybody texted that, got nothing that would look like a confirmation, and then didn't vote because they thought the text worked? Because remember, there would be no confirmation because it wasn't even a real number. They'd probably just get an error or a nothing. Do you think you would feel like you voted? And do you think nobody would have talked you out of it or told you it was a joke? Yeah. Now, it's a joke because you think real people will believe it, right? So it wouldn't really be funny if you thought nobody in the world would believe it. It's only the fact that some people would believe it that makes it a practical joke, right? It's a practical joke as opposed to a joke because you're not just trying to get people to laugh. You get them to go do something, and then you laugh at them for doing it. Because, you believe that? I can't believe you could text to vote. So was it an ill-advised practical joke? I would say yes. Given the circumstances, it was probably ill-advised. But that's not how free speech works. You can say ill-advised things without the government putting you in jail. Maybe your fellow citizens won't like it and punish you for it. But the government isn't supposed to put you in jail for a poor choice of words, but they are. And of course, the it's election interference would be the charge. Now, do you think that if Trump had not been the candidate and we were not in the context of trying to protect the election integrity, do you think that he would have gotten any kind of a, well, even that he would have gone to trial? No. No, to me, this is obviously just hunting Trump supporters. He's hunted. They found an excuse that they could torture until they could say, all right, we got a reason, put this one in jail. What does that do to future Trump supporters who might think, hey, this would be a funny joke? Well, maybe think twice. It's a chilling effect. But I think it also is a dopamine hit for the people putting him in jail. My guess is if you hook monitors up to the people who voted to convict him, that they would have gotten a charge. They would have thought, oh, we're making the world a better place. We'll get this Trump supporter. Feels good, feels good. That's what I think it was. Yep, I think at least half of them were turgid when they voted to put that guy in jail. So it's the gulags, as Cernovich says. Did you know that the ADL opposes a group called Jews Against Zionism? So Jews Against Zionism. So there would be Jewish people who were opposed to Israel, I don't know, existence or policy or something. And the ADL says they're a hate group. Are they? Who are they hating? What exactly is the group of people they're hating? It seems to me that the people they're hating are people that the ADL likes, as opposed to protecting them because of their ethnicity. I kind of thought that they were about, ethnic differences being discriminated against. But no, that seems entirely related to policy. So if you have the wrong policy, according to the ADL, you'll be labeled a hate group. Now, I remind you that the ADL labeled me a Holocaust denier. Do you think they did it because I was a threat or even that I had that belief? Of course I don't have that belief. I don't even know anybody who has that belief. I've never even heard of it, honestly. In the real world, I've never even heard of it. Have you? Have you ever met anybody who thought the Holocaust was actually a hoax? Oh, you have? I've never met anybody. Well, outside of Iran, I suppose. But in person, I've never even met anybody who has that opinion. But yeah, so the ADL is a discredited, ridiculous group you should not pay attention to. More evidence that the Chinese economy is in trouble. I guess they have a lot of debt at their local level. And they are even more debt riddled than the United States, which is interesting. Because I thought the United States was in the most trouble, debt-wise, of the big countries. But no, China's actually much worse. But some say China's debt is owed to itself, so that's different. Maybe. So there doesn't seem to be anybody who can look at China and tell us if they can make it through this situation, big debt problem and declining population, and some decoupling going on with other countries, US primarily. But they could crumble anytime, or maybe never. But I think their future is largely not positive after today. All right. Do you remember when I said after this horrible Hamas attack on Israel, and the barbarism that was involved was beyond anything you could imagine? And I said that it's a sign that they're taking a drug called Captagon. Now, Captagon is what ISIS would take to make them fearsome fighters who are not afraid of anything, but also were not afraid to do anything. In other words, war crimes and atrocities. So you would do it just matter-of-factly if you're on this drug. So it's a stimulant that makes you more effective, but also makes you care less about anybody else's bad situation. So it turns out that Captagon drug is found on the bodies of Hamas members. So this is now confirmed. Yeah, so the drug is reportedly used and produced in Lebanon and Syria, and extremist Salafist elements, including ISIS, have been known to use it. Now, does it all make sense now? The only thing that makes sense when you look at the Hamas attack is if they were zombied out and they weren't in their right mind. Who confirmed it? Nothing from the land of war is guaranteed, but this does match observation. And I always tell you, if it matches what you're observing, there's a much better chance it's real. There is no other explanation for how so many people, 1,000 people, could be murdering babies. But if you gave 1,000 people Captagon, they would go murder babies. There's only one explanation, and it's not religion. Religion doesn't get you to murder babies, not 1,000 people at the same time. Right? So that would be quite a stretch without the drug. So as I've said before, that Gaza should be looked at as a medical problem. The Gaza situation, before, during, and after the actual conflict that's happening now, it's a medical problem. It's medical in several ways. During the war, it's obviously medical because of injuries from the war, and medical in the sense that people will have a great deal of trouble getting nutrition and the basics of life. So in that way, it's super medical. The other way it's medical is this Captagon thing. It's a drug addiction. So they're not just taking it, they're addicted to it in all likelihood. They're addicted. So you've got drug addiction, and you've got the massive injuries and nutrition problems. These are all medical problems. And then you've got the base problem, which is people who were brainwashed into a frame of mind where all it took was a little Captagon and they could turn into murderous zombies. I don't think you and I could be turned into murderous zombies because we don't have the mindset to begin with. But if I had that mindset, give me a little Captagon and I'm like, where's my gun? Got to go kill some people. So I would say that the original brain damage in the form of brainwashing, it's almost like a mind virus. So the idea that it's okay to go out and kill civilians in this context is a mind virus. It's not good for the people doing it, and it's not good for what's being done too. That's the definition of a problem. If it's not good for anybody. At least if somebody was going out ahead, you'd feel like, well, that's just this. That's something else. Selfishness we understand. But this is a nobody situation. That's a medical problem. Now, spoken as a medical problem less than a military problem. You'd still need the military because the very first thing you do is quarantine them. But the quarantine didn't work because too many people got out. You still have to work on the quarantine, though. In other words, it doesn't make sense to send them to Jordan. It makes sense to send them to Egypt because they have a mindset that could infect people in those countries and make everything worse. So if you do it like a virus that must be contained, then that tells you what to do. And one of the things that you do is approach it with some compassion. Because these are medically, the people in Hamas, including Hamas, not just the people in Gaza, but including us, they have a medical urgency that's going on. Their brains have been scrambled so that they can't live with regular society. That's just brain damage. So if you treat it as brain damage, virus, drug problem, nutrition, healthcare in general, then you've got a whole set of compassionate, world-friendly ideas that allow you to do everything you need to do, which would be super violent. But you put it in a package which is not a military package. So I think where Israel needs to go is to start treating this like brain damage, and start using words like that. because people will understand quarantine completely. Oh, I don't want that. People got it. But as soon as you say we're going to put these people in a open air jail because they have a religion we don't like, we're at each other's necks, that suddenly it's evil, right? So you can transform this from some point of what looked like evil to some of the world. That's a debatable point. Right? I think defending your country is just always legitimate, even if it's ugly. And so that's the reframe. The aim should be treating it like a radical problem, but just as aggressively, maybe more aggressively. Now, if you don't like that idea, I have a second idea. This captagon apparently is addictive. So if they're taking it, they're looking for more of it. So I would give them all they want. I would be dropping captagon tablets all over, except that I might make them a little differently. 4 or 5 captagon pills I would make 2 week. So if you took one, you'd be like, oh, this is supposed to be batch. So you take a one or a third. But 1 out of 5 I would lace with fentanyl at a overdose level. Because if you're like, right, damn it, my captain didn't do anything for me. I better take a second. Damn it, didn't do anything for me. Now you're down to a pretty good chance that the next you pop kills you. Pretty good chance. Do I care that? I don't know. Is that a war crime? Is it a war crime to poison somebody's medical supplies? Well, they're not really medical supplies, are they? Captagon's a military asset. You can bomb somebody's artillery if it's a military asset. So this drug is just like a gun. It's just like a bullet. It's like a missile. It's a military asset. If you can corrupt it, in so doing, kill the people who use it, I don't know. I don't know where the line is on that. But to me, it looks like something somebody probably will try. So maybe get the cartels to join us in taking out Hamas. I'm not entirely serious about that. All right. There's a little more in free speech, what we used to think we had. So there's a recent poll by Project Home Fair and Innovative, or anyway, they polled 2,000 people. And let's see, they asked people who plan to vote for Joe Biden. 40% of them, these are 47% of Joe Biden's supporters, say, quote, the government should regulate or restrict the expression of views considered discriminatory or offensive. Discriminatory, offensive. That the government should regulate it. Not just the platforms, the private entities who just want good people on their platform, but 40% Biden people are opposed to freedom of speech. Because that's actually the definition of freedom of speech, is if you can say things that other people are really offended by. That's what it is. Free speech isn't saying what people agree with. That part's easy. And 40% of Joe Biden's supporters are not aware that that's what free speech means, stuff other people really hate. But they don't think it's important. Now, I don't think they understand the risk. As soon as the government gets to say what you can't say, they find reasons why you can't say all kinds of things. It's not going to apply just to the few things they didn't like. It's going to apply to whatever they want to apply to. It can apply to you. Next time they don't like what you say, oh, we found a reason this is discriminatory. Have you noticed that the woke can identify literally anything as discrimination, like say climate change? Has anybody been that climate change is racist? So if you if the government banned saying things that were discriminatory or offensive. So if somebody said, no, I think we should ignore climate change and everything fine, that would be racist, because it ignores that climate change would affect some groups more than others. Racist is by definition. So therefore, you should not be able to criticize climate change, because that would be discriminatory or offensive, and you would have to go to jail for that, for criticizing the science of climate change. Now that's not a thing now. Right now, you can say what you want about climate change. You lose your job, but you can say what you want. The government won't stop you. But 47% of Biden supporters are okay with the world. The government can just say anything is discriminatory or offensive, so we ban it. Whatever we don't want. Amazing. You want to be shocked? 35% of the people say they plan on voting for Trump. Also say government should be involved in speech regulation. So it might maybe have to do with the way the question is asked. But apparently, around a third of the country or more thinks that speech should be curtailed if it's something that's offensive or, in somebody's opinion, discriminatory. And all speech is like that if it's political. There's almost nothing you can do in the political realm that is not both discriminatory, accidentally, or offensive. It's offensive to somebody. You said, I think Trump should be elected. What would imagine faces of Tifa and other people who don't like that? Just imagine their face. You just come and say, I think Trump should be reelected. They'd be like, oh, you monster! I'm offended. He's clearly a racist, say, and therefore if you support him, I think you just supported discrimination, didn't you? You see where this goes? Yeah, you can literally ban anything that matters. The only thing that's safe is that they're boring, that nobody about. So a number of you still are under the impression that you have free speech. Let me tell you what kind of free speech you have. You have the freedom to say the government agrees. That's about it. Anything else, you go slammed. So it looks like the audio is glitching on the X platform. None of the platforms are working today for reasons. All right. So I'm not doing anything about that. You can stop saying it. There was an interesting exchange on the X platform between Jimmy Wales, founder of Wikipedia, and Elon Musk. And what about you'd imagine? Let's see. Jimmy Wales, and I like the contact hospitals and other fake news that are happening right now. But Jimmy Wales says fast-moving claims and counterclaims. Well, he's just saying there are moving claims and counterclaims. And Elon Musk has removed all the core features that made it even remotely possible to tell real journalists from fakes. What? In what world did that happen? Are you aware of anything that happened on the X platform that have made it easier or harder to determine who are the real journalists? I'm pretty sure the X platform made it easier to know who the journalists are, like a lot easier. Am I wrong? The reason that the fake journalists seem to have more, let's say, influence X, is because we found out the other ones were fake too. Does Jimmy Wales not know that most of the journalists, that you used to think were valid turned out not to be? When you found out that their publication was just some biased piece of trash. I mean, I just wonder what world Jimmy Wales lives in. That's what he's saying. Now, I would agree that the non-credible, independent people seem to have a bigger voice. But it's because the people you used to think were credible, you've learned for sure, were never credible to begin with. They were just an information entity. Did Jimmy miss all of that? Does he not know any of that context? Because most people don't. The average person who doesn't watch live streams of Pulse every day, you wouldn't know that the whole system has been outed as rigged from top to bottom, and well documented. No weird claims or speculation involved. It's pretty well documented. All right. So Elon did not let that go. So he said he said fix Wokepedia. This is his only response. Fix Wokepedia. And I responded to Jimmy Webb. I've talked to him a few times about fake news on the forum. Talked to him on DMs. Anyway, we could never tell what was real. Nobody ever knew what was real. Just thought we could. What's new is now know what's not real. That's the only thing. All right. Victoria's Secret has announced. Well, its owner announced that he's going to fund Harvard anymore. So Harvard will not be getting funded by the naughty underwear magnate. So that's another blow to Harvard. But in addition, the Victoria's Secrets, or the company itself, has announced they're going back to sexiness and that they'll stop showing models who do not present that, I guess. So, how's that? Would you like to hear the good news? I like to tell you the good news. Somebody got mad at me for saying this because it was underneath a picture of the woke version of the angels. And let's just say all of them were super attractive, which was the point. They were selecting people intentionally who were not the standard historical norms for beauty. They were trying to make a point about inclusive. But here's my point, because I like to put a positive spin on things. It has never been easier to be in the top 10% of attractive people. It's now available to everybody. When I was a kid, by the time you're like 5 years old, you look in a mirror and you knew where your rank was for the rest of your fucking life. Am I right? You just looked in the mirror and you're like, this is me looking in the mirror. I'm like, I don't know. Scale of 1 to 10. Yet. I don't know. Scale of 1 to 10. God damn it, it's X. and it's not anywhere. Like it's just going to be a 6, and I'm going to be 6 forever. Nothing I can do with it. At the moment, if you were X, all you'd have to do is diet and go to the gym, and you're in the top 10% of adults. Now that's not an exaggeration, because today you could get a lot of the stuff fixed about your body well. You could get that nose job, you have a little fat pull of where you got too much, right? You can do all kinds of things with your hair. If you're challenged, like me, shave your head. Get some lace. Doesn't work for me, but you can do it. Right. So if you fixed your hair, your hygiene, your fingernails are trimmed and clean, and you've gone to the gym. These are all the most doable things in the world. And you've worked hard so you had enough money so that you could, take care of maybe getting a plastic surgery of minor kind. Being in the top 10%, really easy. And I'm that with literally, this is a joke. I'm just kidding around. Yeah. I'm just going to turn off your platform because you're all complaining of news. But it was nice talking to you. StreamYard doesn't work more than twice in a row. I'm glad I proved it to you for now.